Hi everybody, my English New Media. How you doing? This is, I think, my seventh take trying to make this video, and I'm just really struggling with making these videos. So much harder than being in the classroom, so I'm struggling making these videos. You critique yourself when it's being recorded, like you don't when you're in person. And of course, being in person, I think the communication is a lot easier for me since I talk with my whole body. Right? Anyway, I just wanted to, I'm going to keep this video brief actually, and I've tried, now I'm standing up for them. I'm thinking, okay, maybe standing will be more natural for me since I'm used to standing in front of all of you teaching. Thank you for all those who participated in posting into our discussion threads for chapter 1 and 2. That is Nicole, Daniel, Ewan, Cameron, Erica, Maya, Hugo, Quentin, Risa, Malitza, and Lucas B. I will be posting discussion questions probably by Friday or Saturday for chapters 5 and 6. Chapters 3 and 4, I was going to try to talk you and do it into a video, but it's too much detail to communicate easily, without actually writing a speech out. So I'm just going to type point form notes for you for chapters 3 and 4. There's lots to talk about, of course, but I did want to talk about first some general overview about the novel, and then talk in general overview about the two projects that we're going to do with it, which is a detailed outline for an essay, and then the writing of that essay. And I think that'll be it for us. I think we can talk about there's so much richness in this graphic novel that I just don't think we're going to have time for poetry or for anything else. So I just let's focus on our novel, our focus on the novel and writing. And for the essay, you're going to be pulling together everything I've been working hard on this year, which is complexity in your sentences, variety in your sentences. Write your sentences in different syntaxes, in different structures. Seek out each other for good editing help. There's nothing wrong with getting some help with editing. Use $10 vocab words. Don't use big and small anymore. Don't use important or interesting or things. Oh my God, things. Bleh. Those words should be out of our vernacular from now on when we're writing academically. When we're talking just as people, of course, right? But academic writing is more formal than that. So I really want you to push your vocabulary forward, especially in the expressive areas. Quite often you can tuck an adjective or an adverb in front or behind in your sentences to give your sentences far more meaning, far much more expressiveness. It's amazing what one or two words can convey, as I'm sure you're aware by now. So the essay, think about, I put this in the teaching email to you about Watchmen, so I'm just going to take a sip of my wawa. I put it into the first teaching email for Watchmen, along with all the links and everything. It's hard. Sorry. I need to stretch. I should have stretched before I went to do this. Essays. Theme of dehumanization. We worked with that theme a lot with our two film analyses, and I figured we might as well stick with that theme. It's something we're familiar with, and because it's not so much about finding unique ways to talk about this novel, because of course there are many. I really want to focus on the writing craft, so let's keep it as straightforward and as familiar as we can. So theme of dehumanization, and of course there's multiple ways you can approach that with, just like with your paragraphs for the two films. You can talk about it 3 paragraphs on conflict. You can talk about 3 paragraphs of characters. You can talk, if one character is rich enough, like Rorschach is, write the whole essay on Rorschach, right? Just find 3 ways that he is dehumanized. Don't ignore, I will send, there will be a handout for this, by the way. I'll give you a handout for the criteria, not right now for the essay. I just want to give you the heads up just so you can get your brains thinking about it as you're reading the novel. Some of you may not have started, but as you're reading this novel, to bear in mind. So you could talk about, your essay could be on conflict, it could be on characterization, could be on symbolism, could be on setting. I mean, the setting is so ridiculous in this novel. Considering it's a graphic novel, I'm just blown away. I'll jump into talking about the book in general now if I can. So that should be enough for the essay now. You're familiar with it. Basically, it's just like our academic paragraphs, but right, inflated to 3 body paragraphs. And we're going to do 2 major assignments with them, a detailed outline and the final essay, both major assignments. Okay? Yeah. So that way, there's a method to my madness. So just trust me, okay? I like to give marks for outlining because people put a lot of effort into it. And of course, then their writing is a lot easier for them. And thus, easier for me to mark. Yes? Yes. Ms. Macmillan, you're a genius. Okay, so in general, this novel, it's... there's again, just reminding you, there's tons on the internet about this. This is a masterpiece. It's one of the most studied and deified graphic novels out there. It is considered the best, right? The best. It's ranked as it's listed as one of the top 100 novels of all time, let alone graphic novel, right? So it's considered on par with the greatest works of literature in our human history. Yeah, so it's set in 1985. In case you haven't seen some of the videos yet or something or whatever, it's set in 1985 in a slightly altered, or significantly altered in some ways, universe, a world, where it's 1985 and New York City, and Nixon has never been impeached. He remains president. He's still president in the 80s. I guess they changed the rules about only being able to run for 8 terms. 8 years, 2 terms. And we are smack dab in the middle of Cold War. The Cold War has never abated. It's full on still, right? Full on Cold War. USA dehumanizing, vilifying the Russians, and certainly vice versa. It's a world where there are vigilantes. They're called the costumed adventurers. And there's kind of 3 tiers of those, or sorry, 2 tiers of them. There's the original ones that retired, right, just got old basically, and then there's the current crop, which by decree, by law, they were outlawed in 1977 because the world the people had sort of turned against them, and the police were people were rioting, and they saw them as damaging to society more than helpful. So they disbanded them. The artwork, the colors, some of the discussion questions, I think I mentioned already. No, I didn't. That was my other version. The discussion threads for chapter 1 and 2, I've added to them a lot, and I thanked all the people who contributed. They're really good. Please go to them. They become our main source of information for chapters 1 and 2, which are essential to writing your essay, likely. There's some really good discussion there. So check it out. Add to it if you wish. Oh my God, I forgot where I was. Just a second. Stay with me. I'm not starting over again. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So the essential conflicts that were set up in the first couple of chapters is the decaying society, Rorschach, who is, as we talked about on the discussion threads for chapters 1 and 2, cynical, truthful. He's a gut puncher when it comes to his view on the world. I think it was Ewan, or maybe Lucas B, or can't remember. It is important to you guys, I know, but I just can't remember who exactly wrote it. He believes in what he's saying, right? He has an honesty and integrity to his character that's really you root for him. I'm rooting for Rorschach all the way through so far. I've read up to chapter 9, I think, not chapter 9 or 10. I'm rooting for Rorschach the whole time, even though he's not entirely likable. But the setting, as you were saying, is dark, decayed. There's 2 essential that's where I got off track, was the essential conflicts. So the essential conflicts that were set up with characters' personalities and the bigger picture in chapter 1 and 2, there's a couple of things that get added to it in chapters 3 and 4, which is Russia invades Afghanistan, and it posits, which is which is very real, that did in fact happen in the early 80s, 82, 81, 80, 82, 83. This is 1985 in the book. It was thought that they were using Afghanistan as a gateway into Europe, and then, over to North America. And so that's another essential conflict, is this fear of war, another dehumanizing aspect, war. And also the other one is the fear of nuclear power. It was very, very much a thing in the 70s and 80s. We're worried about it today, but it seems to have gone on the back shelf a bit. It raises its head sometimes, with North Korea and other countries that we're fearful of, but it's a lot less prominent, a lot less incredibly anxiety producing as it was in the 70s and 80s. This shows up in the book, and that plays a big part of the setting. The fear of nuclear fallout, the fear of nuclear war. We had already dropped 2 bombs in World War II. That's still a thing in this book and in our lives. And so it's not all the realm of possibility, right? Dropping the bombs on Japan was thought to maybe be out of the realm of possibility. Well, it turns out it wasn't. Yeah, so those are the 2 essential conflicts I wanted to put in your new essential conflicts that I wanted to put in your head. I'm going to put that into notes as well, but I just want to give you an overview of chapters 3 and 4. Sorry, I don't want to give you an overview. I'm going to put it into notes, but I just wanted to talk generally about the essential conflicts and the setting. The characters, we've met everybody now. We've met Ozymandias, we've met Rorschach, we've met the comedian who we met him in death. We never actually got to. We learned a lot about him in flashback for sure. We've met Laurie, who is the Silk Spectre's daughter, who becomes she ends up being Dr. Manhattan's lover, and who's another character, an important one. And yeah, we've met everybody. We also have everything else. I'll put into the notes, the file I'm going to send you. I don't think this will be a waste of your time watching. It's only 10 minutes, 12 minutes. That's not too bad. Yeah, you can see how much it was a struggle to get through 3 pages of notes, right, on these chapters. I might as well just type them and send them to you, because doing the video is just taking me too long. But really, I'm in absolute awe of this book. Just in awe of it. Oh, one thing I'm not going to put into discussion questions just yet, but I just wanted to pique your interest in it. In chapter 3, we see a flashback of the comedian going to visit a criminal, somebody he put in jail, called Jacoby Moloch. He plays a minor but significant role in chapters 3 and 4 as well. The comedian goes to visit him, and he's desperate, he's desolate, he's feeling remorse. We actually feel a bit of empathy for the comedian, the one and only time you will in the book. I trust me. And he talks about this island of men and scientists and artists and all these luminary people, this island. And it sort of foreshadows something. We don't know what this island is, but it pops up in a few other places in the novel, and in chapters 3 and 4 you'll notice it. There's a strand. I'll just do a little bit, I guess, because I'm going on a roll here. In chapters 3 and 4, we're introduced to 2 stories within stories as well. There's the Black Freighter comic book, which I thought was a real comic book that he was actually borrowing from another writer and using. It's not. He wrote this little comic book story within his graphic novel. I mean, God, story within the story. And it's a story about a sailor whose ship gets attacked by pirates, and they're all massacred except for him. He's the only survivor. So that story of the surviving sailor is a parable. It's a parallel story that's running through and connects to a lot of the characters and different action that's happening in 1985. Really cool. Very dehumanizing. It's pretty gory, but it's a bit of an homage too by the writer. I bought a copy of the book on Amazon, right? So it's easier to take notes and insert notes in than on a digital copy for me. As will be for you, but we're definitely going to buy a class set for the grade 11s next year. Where was I? Oh God. Oh yeah, sorry, the shipwreck, the story within the story. And then chapter 3 also opens up in a scene with the with a newsstand owner, this old crotchety guy who's, used to talking all day to people he's selling newspapers to, and this little black kid is, or this young black youth, actually he's not a kid, black youth is sitting there against a fire hydrant reading this Black Freighter comic book about the surviving sailor, the who survives a shipwreck, the only survivor from a shipwreck. And so, as I said, you've got these parallel stories that are happening all along. And then the other parallel story is the newsstand owner. Also, in his conversations with people, he's giving his commentary and opinions on the news headlines of the day, like Russia invading Afghanistan, and the other events that are story driven. No spoiler alerts, they'll be in the notes, but he comments on these events that are happening, because of course these costumed adventurers are in the news now. One has been thrown out of a building, or potentially murdered, or killed himself, or he's dead anyway. And then other things are happening to other masked adventures, as we're going to find out, or masked adventures, as we find out in chapters 3 and 4. Yeah, so I'll leave it there. I've hopefully, like I said, I hope you find this at least gives you some ideas for your essays and some general feel for the book. I'm just blown away by the artwork. The colors are acidic and toxic and muddy and grimy, just like it totally suits the mood. The line is granular, and sorry, not granular. The line is fine, right? There's a lot of details in that line. It's a comic book, and yet it's illustrated story, but yet it's so obviously it's just so realistic. I'm just blown away by that, how realistic it is, or how communicative it is too. The language is great. It's a bit hard to listen to. There's words you don't want to read sometimes, and some of the language is a bit harsh, but it's part of the setting, right? It's part of who these people are. It's part of who this community is. So I will leave it there, and like I said, hopefully you'll find this interesting enough to watch. And you can always, these videos work better than recording class meetings anyway. You can always refer to them again and again, and I will type up these notes PDQ. They're just going to be point form. I'll type up these notes for chapters 3 and 4, and I will be posting discussion questions for chapters 5 and 6, hopefully by the weekend, by Sunday at the very latest. I'm a little bit behind for a couple of days for a bunch of reasons, but they'll be there by Sunday. And then the next batch, whoever responds to those, well, the ones who responded to chapters 1 and 2 can take a break, and whoever didn't respond to chapters 1 and 2, feel free to answer these. Well, not feel free. I would like you to respond to these discussion questions for chapters 4 and 5, or it'll be chapters 5 and 6. And we'll take it from there. I will, there'll be, as I said, a follow-up email with the notes for chapters 3 and 4. Hopefully by the end of tonight. It's Monday. I'll try to get it done tonight. Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye.